I mean, swoon. And I think this is normal, like, we'll do things with sex, like we'll start talking fantasy talk sometimes during sex. Like, one time we were fooling around, and this just came out of my mouth. I didn't plan it, and I go, you just showed up at my summer camp. And even he was like, ugh. But he saved it. He goes, but you, like, own the camp, right? I go, yeah, yes. I own the camp, yes. Oh, another time I was on top of him. What do I go, side to side? Whatever, the position doesn't even matter, but we were doing it. And then he goes, he's like, this is so crazy, like, I don't even know your last name. And, you know, I'm playing along, and I said, it's Hitler. And he came immediately, which was a little disconcerting. Right here, right between my upper lip and my nose bottom. Oh, my dad and my stepmom Janice both died last May, 9 days apart. And, oh, that one needs work. But they really did, and I was really close with both of them. And my dad was my best friend, and they both gave me so much. And most recently, about an hour of new material, so let's do this. All right, let me introduce the characters involved. First, my dad, Donald Schleppy Silverman. Everybody called him Schleppy. Born in Boston, then his family moved to... You've heard of it? You're like, I'm from Boston, you're from Quincy. But they moved to New Hampshire, and that's where I was born and raised. And my dad owned a discount women's clothing store called Crazy Sophie's Factory Outlet. And it's funny, when I tell people I'm from New Hampshire, they'll go, there are Jews in New Hampshire? And then I have to explain to them that, you know, even New Hampshire deserves retail. And, you know, he'd do his own radio ads. He'd be like, I'm Crazy Donnie. When I see the prices at the mall, I just want to vomit. And then he'd rattle off a bunch of, like, off-brand brands. And then at the end, he'd go, so if you care enough to buy the very best, but you're too cheap, come to Crazy Sophie's. You know, I think he named it because Crazy Sophie's Factory Outlet, he loved Crazy Eddie from New York, you know, in the 80s, and he wanted to do something like that. And, but he needed it to be a woman's name because it's women's discount clothes. And then, you know, we're Jewish, so he wanted to sneak in like a Jewishy name, so he picked Sophie, Crazy Sophie's Factory Outlet. And my Nana, his mom, was very upset because her best friend back in Boston was Sophie Moskowitz, and she felt that he was calling her crazy. And he explained to her mom, if I named the store after Sophie Moskowitz, I'd call it Ugly Sophie's Factory Outlet. And I thought that story was so funny. So years ago, I told it on a talk show, and I didn't realize at the time that Sophie Moskowitz was still with us. And it caused much source between the families, but I did make absolute sure that she's dead now. So my dad, he called me every Saturday, and I almost never picked up the phone because his messages were gold. Like, good for you. My stepmother called me. She's like, I don't know what's going on. Your father's been punched in the face 3 winters in a row. Like, if he saw anyone with a Rolex, he'd be like, oh, nice Rolex. My Timex was $30 and I can swim in it. But good for you. You need a Rolex. Now everybody knows you're rich. He really fucking hated rich people until I started making money. Then he was like, I'm never flying coach again. Next, my mother, my biological mother, Beth Ann O'Hara, and I know some of you your wheels are spinning. She married an Irish Catholic man. She's fully Jewish. You can still jerk off to me. Beth Ann died 8 years ago, and let me describe her. She was just a natural beauty, no makeup. She wore like overalls with paint all over them because she'd paint in them, and like 2 different color socks, and she had a jewelry box, but it was filled with like political pins, and like, you know, no bra, nipples out, because fuck the man. And then in contrast to that, her personality was, this isn't an original way to describe her, but she really was exactly Diane Chambers from Cheers. Like, she really said, like, when and where, and, you know, grammar and diction and enunciation were her passions. I remember being with her as a kid. We were ordering food, and she goes, I'll have the breakfast croissant. And, you know, we live in Manchester, New Hampshire. They say avocado there. I'm like, Mom. The girl's like, the what? The croissant? The breakfast croissant? I'm like, Mom, it's a croissant sandwich. We're at Burger King. Like, meet people where they're at. She was a director. She directed local theater in Manchester, New Hampshire, and she was a born director, you know, little notes, little corrections for everyone she met. Never met a comment card she didn't fill out. She was actually the voice of our local movie theater, Bedford Mall Cinemas, where all bargain matinees are only $2 Monday through Saturday. And she got the job because she complained. She went right in and said, I called to see what movies were playing, and the man on the line was indecipherable. He had no diction. I couldn't understand a word he was saying. They were like, you want to do it? She was like, I don't know. Yes, yes, okay. And a star was born. She really never lied. It would never occur to her to lie, even to like protect someone's feelings. She just didn't do it, you know, like she was directing a play, and one of her young actresses asked her, you know, Beth Ann, do you think I could really make it someday? And she said, no. The only reason I know that story was I was asking my sister Susie if she had any stories about Mom, and she told that to me, and I said, how do you know that? Were you there? And she said, no, Mom told me because she couldn't figure out why that girl was crying. That girl, Pam Sullivan. Right, you've never heard of her. Right? Not talented. Did not have it. But, you know, she was my mom. I sat with her as she was dying, and I was holding her hand, and it was a quiet moment, and it was the last thing she said to me, and she looked up and she said, your hair, it's so dry. I really wouldn't change it for the world, you know? I know it sounds like I'm being hard on her, but honestly, I'm so grateful. She always told me the truth, and it was a bummer a lot of the time, but sometimes it was something nice, and then I knew it was true, you know? I mean, I think we need more Beth Anns in the world, you know? If we're lacking anything in this world right now, it's truth, you know? But the cold, hard, braless nipples of truth. Enter Janice, my wicked stepmother. as she called herself. She was just the sweetest lady you could ever meet. Just to give you a idea, like bleach blonde hair, face full of makeup, nails that matched the shoes, a whole outfit. She had a style, very different from my mother, and so sweet. And one time she picked me up after work, and I got in the car, and she said, "What do you think of my makeup?" And because I am my mother's daughter, I did have several notes. But because I was also Janice's daughter, I did know to shut the fuck up and tell her it was beautiful. And honestly, thank God